All right, let's open up a case file, one that's been around for a long, long time. It's one of space's most enduring and, honestly, kind of unsettling legends. So, here's the question that has been echoing through space history for over a century. Are we being watched? And not just by anything, but by a 13,000-year-old intruder. Yeah, you heard that right. This is the story of a mysterious object, a satellite they say was orbiting Earth long, long before we ever even dreamed of launching our own rockets. The whole legend just exploded in 1998. Why? Because of this photograph, captured by NASA astronauts. And for so many people, this was it. This was the final, undeniable proof they needed. I mean, just look at it, a dark, twisted, totally alien-looking object just silently floating up there above our home. But to really get what's going on with this picture, we can't just start in 1998. We've got to go back. We need to follow this trail of really strange clues that all came together to build this absolutely incredible myth. So the case file for this thing, which people call the Black Knight satellite, it's not just one event. It's a whole series of baffling moments that seem to connect over almost 100 years. It starts way back in 1899 with Nikola Tesla picking up weird radio signals. Then in the 20s, you've got amateur radio guys reporting these mysterious echoes. Fast forward to the 60s, and the US Navy supposedly spots some unknown dark object in polar orbit. And then in 73, a writer even claims he decoded the echoes into an alien star map. Each piece just adds another spooky layer to the mystery. So what exactly is the Black Knight satellite theory? Well, it's the idea that there's an extraterrestrial spacecraft up there in a near-polar orbit. And that orbit is key, right? Because a polar orbit means it can scan the entire surface of Earth as our planet rotates. Believers claim it's been here for 13,000 years. Think about that. An alien intelligence supposedly watching us, monitoring us, for thousands and thousands of years before we even figured out how to fly. And where did this all begin? The origin point is none other than the genius inventor himself, Nikola Tesla. In 1899, he was in his lab doing his thing with radio experiments, and he picked up this rhythmic, repeating signal, and it genuinely freaked him out. He said, and I quote, "The signals must be coming from an intelligent outside source. Inhabitants of Mars were trying to make contact." It was totally unlike anything he'd ever heard coming from Earth. Okay, so we've got the backstory, but now let's get to the smoking gun. The one piece of evidence that took this from a fringe theory whispered about in corners of the internet and blasted it into a global phenomenon. The year is 1998. The Space Shuttle Endeavour is up there on mission STS-88, and the crew takes a photograph, the photograph, the one that would come to define this entire legend. And you can totally see why this picture went viral. For believers, this was it. A high-resolution photo of a pitch-black, twisted object. This was undeniable proof that the Black Knight was real. It seemed to confirm everything they suspected, a non-human craft right there in our orbit. And the picture wasn't taken by some backyard astronomer, it was captured by NASA's own cameras. But like any good investigation, you have to look at all the evidence, not just the bits and pieces that fit a cool, scary story. And this, right here, is where the whole mystery really starts to unravel. So was it an alien probe, or was it a lost thermal blanket? Well, here's the crucial point. That terrifying, otherworldly object wasn't an alien ship at all. The reality is, it was a piece of space junk, specifically a thermal cover that an astronaut accidentally dropped during a spacewalk. And this is a perfect example of how a simple, everyday accident can get twisted into something extraordinary. Here's what actually happened. The mission was STS-88, and astronauts were doing a spacewalk. They were using this special thermal blanket to protect some equipment. And then, oops, astronaut Jerry Ross accidentally lost his grip on the cover. It just drifted away, and as it floated, it crumpled and twisted into that weird shape. And just like that, it became one of the most famous pieces of space junk in history. So once you solve the mystery of the photo, the whole case file starts to make a lot more sense. What about Tesla's alien message from Mars? Well, the reality is he was probably hearing natural cosmic signals. Today, we know about things called pulsars. They're these rapidly spinning stars that shoot out regular radio pulses. He was likely the first person to ever detect one. He just didn't know what it was because they wouldn't be officially discovered for years. Okay, but what about that ancient alien star map that supposedly pointed to a distant star? Well, the writer, a guy named Duncan Lunan, later came out and admitted he'd made some major mistakes in his calculations. He actually retracted the entire theory himself, calling it unscientific. So the star map was just a simple mistake in interpreting the data. And that secret Cold War satellite that neither the US nor the Soviets would claim, even that mystery object from the 60s had a perfectly normal Earth-based explanation. It was later identified as just some debris from a US Air Force satellite that had gone astray. Nothing alien about it. So if every single piece of evidence has a logical, pretty simple explanation, how on earth did all these separate events get stitched together into this one grand conspiracy theory about an ancient alien watcher?
Well, what we're looking at is a perfect example of modern myth-making. The Black Knight story isn't really one story at all. It's a jumble of totally unrelated events. You have stories from 1899, the 1920s, the 60s, 1998, and the internet came along and was like the ultimate stir-fry cook. It just chopped up all these separate pieces, threw them together, and mixed them into one single coherent story. And in the process, each piece of evidence got completely stripped of its real context.
What this whole case file really shows us is how easily our brains can build a compelling mystery out of totally unrelated facts. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, how many other modern myths like this are hiding in plain sight? So the next time you hear an absolutely incredible story, just remember the Black Knight. And remember the simple thermal blanket that accidentally became a legend.